writing, summarized text, guided practice. Let's begin this session. Here's your first question. As always, 10 minutes to write your response, and you can pause the video for 10 minutes, come back for the review. Welcome back. Here's the sample response. A large number of short Southern African people with unique features still live in small hunting units and follow a primitive way of life in the inner regions of Southern Africa, having been pushed there by the Portuguese. Let's go back. When you start reading the text, the very first sentence tells you that it's about San, a community or a group of people of Southern Africa. So it's not the country, South Africa. It is the part of Africa, the southern part of Africa. So a larger region than just the country of South Africa, and tells you about the number, etc. Then they're generally short in stature, yellowish brown skin, so which are all just physical features, that they have unique features. The next few paragraphs then again give some information about them and how half of them work for white settlers, while other half, they're still nomadic hunters and live in some other areas. And the next few sentences, they are just about where they live, their possessions, etc. And the final paragraph, the second paragraph, is where they lived and how that changed after the arrival of Portuguese. So Portuguese forced them to move into the interior of Southern Africa. Before that, they had lived in Southern and Central Africa for thousands of years. All right, so the theme is about San people, their present day state, where they are, and how thousands of years ago where they lived and how they were moved from there by Portuguese. So it's essentially that. And the key arguments, the first point is the sentences that introduce us to the San people. Then the next important point is about their short stature, their prominent cheekbones, they're basically their features. And the third point is about half of them work for white settlers and half are still hunters and gatherers. And finally, the last is fourth point about how they have been pushed into the interior of Southern Africa by Portuguese. You take these points, put them in your text area, and then you try to combine them. When you do, you will arrive at a sentence like this. A large number of short Southern African people with unique features still live in small hunting units and follow a primitive way of life in the inner regions of Southern Africa. So instead of repeating interior parts or interior regions, just change that to inner regions of Southern Africa, having been pushed there by the Portuguese. So that's all the essential information. We've just mentioned two words, unique features. We are not going to talk about cheekbones, yellowish skin, each and every feature. All of that is covered by unique features, and that's fine. We're also not going to talk about half work for white settlers, half are hunters, and what the total number is. Simply saying that a large number of that is sufficient. We also don't need to talk about how thousands of years ago they lived in the central part and southern part of Africa, and then from there they were pushed to the interiors by the Portuguese in this particular year and the other years mentioned. That's all supplementary information, so that's why we have ignored it. What you're seeing, that's one way to write the summary. The other is you start from the top and one by one you just combine. So you can say the Southern African people of short stature and unique physical features who have been living in the interior regions of Southern Africa for a long time, where they were pushed by the Portuguese. And you can even mention a year if you have to. So there are different ways to do that. But I think what we have conveys the main point without talking about information that's not really necessary. And as far as possible, that's what your goal should be, to keep it concise and precise. So short sentences, minimum risk of error. Now the last step is to review. If you think your summary has any grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, or it can be rearranged in a way that will make it sound better, then do that. Let's look at the next question. Take 10 minutes to write a summary. Here's a sample response. Alexa Kasdan was shocked to know that her bill for medical treatment for common cold was over $25,000, as against her expectation of it being around only $250. Now let's go back. You start reading the text. It's about someone, Alexa Kasdan, has a cold. She was from Brooklyn, didn't want her upcoming trip, etc., etc. It's not really necessary. The first, what's important is that she had a cold. And then she, in the second paragraph, visited her primary care physician. Visit was quick. Then the bill came, and then we write further down. Total bill was 28,395. Her insurer cut a check for 25,865. Service provider, lab tests, etc., and viruses that could be related. So in the end, what gives? She says there were several messages on my phone and I have an email from the billing department of doctor's office. The news was that her insurance company was mailing her family a check for more than 25,000 to cover some out-of-network lab tests. The doctor's office said it would waive her portion of the bill, and then she felt that it was a mistake, that how could some tests and doctor's visit can cost over 25,000. So you understand the structure now? Someone has a cold, goes to a doctor, receives a huge bill, and is surprised by that bill. Everything else, that she was going on a vacation trip, which doctor she went, it was Manhattan Specialty Care, where it was located, the details of everything that happened on that bill, the exact amounts, the name of the doctor, they left several messages on my phone, etc. And, those are not important. You have already understood that this is about somebody surprised by their medical bill who went for a simple procedure and they received a huge bill. So that's the core of the summary. So you take the first sentence of the first paragraph, the first few words of the second paragraph, and then maybe the last sentence of the last paragraph, because again, it's about the bill amount and about how she thinks it was a mistake. And when you try to combine them, you will have something like this. Alexa Kasdan was shocked to know that a bill for medical treatment for common cold was over $25,000, as against her expectation of it being around only $250. Another way you could have written this was, starting from the top, Alexa Kasdan has a cold for which she visited the doctor, but was later on surprised by the more than $25,000 bill that she received. So that's also simple. You start from top. Other way, you can start with the immediate result, the final result, which was that she was shocked on the bill. And then you can add sentences to explain the reasons, what the bill was for and why she was shocked, because she thought it was only $250. So whichever way is comfortable, when you are practicing, as I say, you will be spending a lot of time practicing in the test software on your own. When you do, try different methods, see which works best for you. You can start simply by combining sentences in the sequence that they appear. But once you gain more confidence, you can flip them around. You can immediately write the final outcome or the main thing that happened, and then add supporting sentences, the reasons why it happened, any essential information that you need to support that point. All right, so over to you now. We have discussed quite in depth the steps that we use in these summary questions. Now, what I want you to do is also spend a lot of time on your own following the same steps in the test software.